You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
You said I've had far too much to say, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to hand this sports segment over to you. Just first of all, I will just say that we have unfortunately, it's about men's health, but we have a professor coming in to speak about prostate cancer and associated problems and where it's headed. I know this is not really conducive to our female listeners, but we will try and correct that.
They've got men in their lives.
We will try and correct that next week.
And they might like to know what men go through. Well, I think I think there are a lot of women who'd be interested.
Go ahead, you're doing the sport. I've spoken too much.
Okay. Did you see on the weekend?
Don't look at him, look into the microphone.
Oh, so Rodney. Are you doing comedy now, Rodney?
Go ahead.
Just pull your head in. Richmond.
What?
Richmond.
Yes, Don?
A man by the name of Conrad Marshall, I think, was in the bubble with the Richmond team up in Queensland, and he's written a book on
diary.
Well, it's similar to a diary, called The Hard Way.
The Hard Way.
The Hard Way. Wasn't there a book put out by Hawthorn, and it was called The Hard Way? Hawthorn coming from obscurity to the team that they were. It was first published and launched by Bob Hawke, I think, in the 80s, and they've added to it over the years.
So
Harry Gordon, the late Harry Gordon, and also the late Michael Gordon were the writers of that book.
So is that a question or a statement?
Well, I want to know why Richmond have come up with a book called The Hard Way when there's already a book called The Hard Way.
So you think they've plagiarised
They've
it?
plagiarised.
You sure that's not just? It's a reference to that book and saying that Hawthorn went through something
is there,
similar.
Right? It was in.
No. But what I'm saying is, you sure they're not just? It's not a deliberate reference saying that Richmond have gone through something similar by reinventing themselves.
No, they've called their book The Hard Way. Now, Hawthorn put it out in the 80s, and did Richmond do it the hard way? Wasn't a wife complaining about having the hotel renovated or the motel renovated, another one wanting a hair done? I think there were 2 Richmond boys sent away, and also Benny Gale alluded to something in the paper I read in a column about Damien Hardwick. I don't think Damien Hardwick handled the bubble too well either. So I don't know how it must have been very, very difficult in this bubble for Richmond. But why plagiarise the name?
Do you remember when Carlton had had this slogan a couple of years ago, advertising for Carlton membership? It said, "Live it, love it." Live it, L-I-V-E, love it, means live the game, love the game. And one of the soccer clubs in Melbourne said, that was our slogan. We had that on our membership tickets the year before. They've pinched that. So maybe words like the hard way, you probably can't,
copyright?
Yeah, you can't copyright them.
But John, it's plagiarism. There is a book, and Hawthorn own it.
Are you sure it's not a tribute? I don't know. I don't know anything about this book. But are you sure then, if that's the case, that he hasn't paid tribute to that book, saying that they went through something similar?
I saw, Rod, I will bring it up. My phone is off because we're on air, but I will show you on if my phone was on.
You look to him again. Look at the microphone.
Can you get a microphone that I can hang around my neck, please?
Yeah.
I was looking,
if you
talking
can
about
pay
this.
For it, I will.
Will you shut up? Talking about this, doing it hard in the bubble. I watched the rugby union on Saturday night. Argentina playing Australia,
So
the
did
Wallabies. What about the hardship?
Thank heavens we've got Islanders playing for Australia.
I know.
Isn't it?
I know. I said that weeks ago. You're only just onto it. But the Argentinians have been away for months, and I heard or alluded to the fact that they were actually training in their hotel rooms. The Argentinians.
Training in their hotel rooms.
That's what one of the commentators alluded to.
But using the pillows as sort of battering rams.
Or doing whatever. But talk about doing it hard. They were away for 4 months from their country.
They could write a book called The Hard Way.
And they performed very well.
Okay, The Hard Way. Sorry, can I go back? The Hard Way. The title came from Richmond CEO Brendan Gale's description of the journey to the club's 3rd premiership in the last 4 seasons. Covers the journey. So, yeah, no, it's it's not any tribute to the Hawthorne book at all. So, yeah, okay.
Well, what are you saying, Rod? Not a
You're
tribute?
right that I thought, but perhaps it was a deliberate reference to that other book, but it's not. I'm wrong.
No, it's not. It's their own book. They thought they did it the hard way.
I get that, Don, but I just thought I'm with you
God,
now.
I reckon it's a soft way, if anything. Well, they're down at the beach. They're playing golf. They're up in the sunshine. We're freezing our what's-her-names off down here.
Plums.
Yeah, in Melbourne. Gee, these blokes are soft nowadays. They wouldn't know what hard... Oh, they're weak as water. They're pampered. And talking about, I'm on a roll here. We've got to wear these stupid masks still. I do. Well, I think it's a precaution. You've got to wear them in Bunnings. But how come they've still got the Bunnings sausage sizzle going? Do you have to wear it then when you go out to get your... Yes, Johnny, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, could I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm sure there is a tenuous link here. Is this sport?
It's got nothing to
fair
do with
point.
sport because
This
I
was
endeavoured
the
to bring
sports
this...
segment. You vaguely touched on it with the hard way because you linked that to the Richmond Football Club.
You're on the ball, aren't you? But this is my segue.
This
This
is
is my
Bunnings
way into
about-
the last segment under general because you dominate.
Tell us about the Bacchus Marsh soil.
So you couldn't bring this up when you had an opportunity in general, but now I've asked you to do the sports segment because I dominated too much of the first segment. You're going to go on with nothing to do with sport, are you? Because I'll take this over again in a minute if you don't get on to sport. Get on to sport,
You know
Don.
they're protesting in Main Street, Bacchus Marsh,
About the soil.
about the soil. Now we let this go on the podcast.
Oh, it's outrageous.
It's in February about them lining the tips in Bacchus Marsh ready
Try
for
and
contaminated soil, and they've only just woken up
Don.
to it in Bacchus Marsh. Are they on the ball in Bacchus Marsh?
Try and link
Hey.
the soil to
Incredible.
dirt bike racing. Try and make it sport somehow. That they've taken the soil out of the tunnel, which is
We're on the ball, aren't
contaminated.
we, at this?
and then
Why
out
don't people listen to this podcast and run with some of these items we let go?
So, can I tell you the most dysfunctional sport in the world for the amount of money that's thrown at it? I've said this before, Formula One racing. Ferrari are the most hopeless and dysfunctional sporting team in the world because they stuff up all their pit stops, all their tyre choices, their cars are shithouse. And George Russell, a young Englishman, took over Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes on the weekend in Bahrain. I think it was Bahrain. And he was on the front row and he was leading the Grand Prix, which shows you it is actually the car, not the driver so much in this day and age. And he was leading the race and he came in to change his tyres and Mercedes stuffed up the tyres. They put the wrong tyres on Bottas, who was then took over the lead. They stuffed up George...
Hang on, is Bottas in the same team?
Yeah, both Mercedes drivers, Lewis Hamilton and...
Why would they... Hang on, I'm not into car.
Okay.
Why wouldn't the cars be running on the same tyres
No,
if you're
they-
in the same team?
They have to change the tyres, A, because they wear out, and B,
I
you have to
understand
run
that.
two sorts of tyres with different grip
Profiles.
Yes, different profiles. So they brought George Russell in to change his tyres. They stuffed that up and he lost the race, having dominated it. This is a multi-billion-dollar sport and they are so inept and they've got their heads up their arse. They
So
have.
explain who George Russell is.
George Russell was a rookie driver who was driving, I think, for Williams or one of the lower teams, and Lewis Hamilton, who...
Well, I was just going to say, where's Lewis Hamilton?
I'm about to explain that, Donald. Lewis Hamilton, who contracted COVID.
Oh.
He was not allowed to drive, and they lent George Russell because he drives with a Mercedes engine in his car. They said, well, he can take over Lewis Hamilton's car. He was fastest in qualifying. He put the car on the front row of the grid. This is a boy who just got into the car for the first time. The race started. He led the race He was going to win the race until he brought it into the pits, brought the car into the pits, and they stuffed.
Do you think it was a tactical ploy?
It's not a bad question, that, Don.
Yeah, that's where I was. That's where I was.
Not
going,
a bad question. Not a bad question.
Because that's diabolical for F1. If some kid gets in and wins in that, I mean,
Which
that
just
undermines.
shows you it's nothing. It is a little.
Why do you even follow it? It doesn't interest me.
Well, or it does. I see. I don't follow horses.
Gives him something else to whinge about.
I don't.
Beg
I
your
don't.
pardon?
Gives him something else
Yeah,
to
but
whinge about.
they don't change places.
No, but
when I've
Don-
watched it on TV, the one that's in front finishes up winning.
That is why it was interesting, Don, because this
what he
boy got into this car. This boy got into this car that the great Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas drive, and you say, oh, they're great drivers, which they are, but it's the car. Now, you say, why do I watch it? Well, you know, I don't watch show jumping, Don, because I'm not interested in it. But
I don't talk about it.
Oh, no, you've talked about it a bit.
No, I don't.
Yes, bit.
No, I do not.
Yes, you do. Well, anyhow, I don't talk about...
What I'm going to talk about is Jamie Carr. Do you know who Jamie Carr is?
You compare world politics
Will
to
you
what goes
shut
on
up?
in...
Will you shut up, idiot.
So
Jamie
that was,
Carr,
that
do you
was
know
my
who-
comment about Formula One in sport. That's all, sport. The Rocket reckons that Daniel Ricciardo's a whinger.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he does.
Why?
Don't you?
Well, I asked the question.
Well, this is like me saying Maradona was a cheat. It was just a
He
question.
died.
It was just a question.
He died.
No, don't get onto Maradona. Why is Daniel? He's an Australian and
He
a
doesn't
very
mind.
personable
He doesn't
man.
mind laying blame when there's a problem. When he doesn't, if it's not his fault, he makes sure everybody knows about it.
See, he said he
Yeah,
was
but
a
hang
whinger.
on, you boys tell me about this Formula One racing. It's got nothing to do with the driver. It's the car. It's
has-
computerised. It's done all this. So obviously there's something wrong with the computer or the car, and that is why he cannot
Yeah,
win
but
or
when
get
they
to the
when they
front.
win these drivers, they don't go, "Oh, well done." It wasn't me. It was the engineers. So
Sorry,
you can't
who-
have it both ways.
They what?
When they win, they're happy to claim the win. They don't say, "Oh, it wasn't me. It was the engineering team."
They do. They always give credit
Oh,
to
they
the,
give that
They
little,
give credit to the team when they win,
Yeah,
and when the car fucks up, of course it's the engineering team and the software.
Well, the way
on the
you
car.
two explain it all to me, it's just a computer on wheels.
Well, it sort of is, Don. But the driver is
So
very.
there's no
important.
skill in being a driver.
Yeah,
You just
the-
vindicated that by having this young fellow getting involved.
Well, he's a very good driver, but to get in the car on 1 week and take over Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes and put the car on the front row and lead the Grand Prix until they stuffed it up, whether it be
Okay, now, whoa. Oh, no, this is it's a hypothetical. Now you
and
did,
stupid. I got a feeling.
Shut up. You raced the cars.
Yes.
How would you go getting in a Formula One and compare? No, how would you go?
I wouldn't go at all.
Why?
Because it's just a completely different standard. It's just it's good. It's a completely different standard, Donald. So it's not
Would you
even-
improve? Would you do well?
No, of course.
Why
I
wouldn't you?
Because you've got to learn how to drive those cars at 200 miles an hour and know how to operate the things. It's a very selective field, and they're great drivers, but the cars are the things that make them successful. Unlike in
It's
the
a
old...
bit like it's maybe the old adage, once you're in the Australian cricket team, you never go out. So this young boy that got an opportunity, how many young drivers actually get the opportunity to get into the top echelon of Formula One?
Well, they come up through Formula 3.
I understand that,
Oh,
but
do you?
how many get the opportunity to actually go up into Formula One? Is it 1, 2, 3 a year?
Well, it's a money thing. Usually their families pay for them to get a drive in Formula 3 or
Really?
Formula 2 or even own the race teams. It's a very, very financially imposing sport, and there's plenty of young drivers, but most of them, or a lot of them, have got there because their families pay the teams to give them a chance.
Really?
Yes, really. So anyhow, that was Formula One. I'm sorry you're not interested in it, but that was sport, unlike the sausage sizzle of Bunnings.
Okay, but I've got another, but talking about young people.
Yes.
I just touched on it before. She's 24 years old, and her name is Jamie Carr. She started as a jockey in South Australia and won numerous premierships.
That's CAR.
It's K-A-H. Her parents were
You
Olympians.
said it should H again.
Oh, jeez.
No, don't say H ever
You
in
are
my
a
company.
Oh, you are a smart ass.
Don't
Just
ever
listen.
say H
Listen.
in my company again.
Or blaspheme.
Oh, blaspheme, or I'll cut you off.
What did I say?
Oh, Jesus.
You said, oh,
did- I
Jesus.
did not.
You did so.
My grandmother.
You're a hypocrite.
I am, because my grandmother used to pull me up if I said that, and I'm very conscious of it.
Well,
I might have
apologise.
said, geez.
You said Jesus.
Well, I think you're wrong.
Well, do it. Cross yourself.
I'm not Catholic.
Well, that
So why can't you blaspheme?
Taking our Lord's name in vain.
go ahead.
Jamie Carr. K-A.
H.
Thank you.
You can do it.
All right.
I need some hand. I need a hand. Her parents were both Olympians. They were skaters. But anyway, she's come across here to Victoria.
Skaters?
Yes.
She's a skater.
No. Her parents were skaters, Olympians.
Oh,
And she's a very gifted
skater.
young lady jockey. And she was rated best in the world, best female jockey in the world at one stage. Well, she is leading the Victorian Premiership. I know it finishes in March. She's about she's more than that. She's 7 or 8 in front. Coming second is Damien Oliver and Craig Williams third. So it's going to be interesting to see whether this young lady can hold on for another 8 months. And
8 months.
8 months
How
to
does
win.
the season go from?
Well, it goes from August to July.
It doesn't go calendar year.
It goes August to July.
Not a calendar year.
Well, it's 12 bloody months.
Well, a calendar year is from January to December. That's a year.
Okay, well, this goes from, end of July to August.
Beginning
Beginning
of August.
of August to end of July the following year.
And so she's the leading jockey.
She, at the moment, is the leading jockey.
It's good, isn't it?
Well, it is good because women, I could never understand why there was prejudice towards women as far as jockeys were concerned.
I've asked you this before,
What?
and you've given me the answer. Do you know the only sport in the world where women compete on an equal footing to men? Unless you can think of another one.
Did I say as a jockey?
Well,
racing?
first of all, it was show jumping.
Oh, well, show jumping.
Show
yes, they
the
do.
best women show jumpers
Yes, they
are
do.
probably
Yep.
better than the men.
Yep.
Because they have a...
And the dressage riders are better than the men too.
That's what I just said. That is the
Dressage.
only sport where
Equestrian.
women...
Not that we talk about that often.
We don't.
No. The only thing you can talk about sport is horses and the sausage sizzle at Bunnings.
And the dirt at Bacchus Marsh.
Yeah, the dirt, which had no... Go ahead now. Go on. Other sport things. I've got sport things, but you go ahead. Do that thinking thing.
The cricket.
Yep.
Hang on.
I was going to talk about the Christmas tree at the
Go
free.
ahead. What?
I was going to talk about the Christmas tree at the free.
Christmas tree where, Dad?
You serious?
The Christmas...
Freemasons Hospital.
Is that sport? Is that...
Well, I thought it was because the nurses have got a good sense of humour.
So, Don, I'm trying to stay with you. Believe me, mate, I'm trying to stay
Well,
with
they've
you.
done the
Christmas tree at the Freemasons Hospital.
Yes.
The nurses have got what? A good
sense of humour. Seeing that we've just gone through COVID,
Yep.
they've got Santa Claus and the reindeers with masks on, all very coordinated in blue, so it's very well done.
Hilarious.
Cough, cough, cough across the top of the Christmas tree instead of ho, ho, ho. They've got toilet rolls, and they've blown up blue rubber surgical gloves. And they're hanging.
I'm seriously. As
The tree is on display in the foyer at the Freemasons Hospital. If you don't believe me,
As Santa's wife said to Santa, "Coming out of the reindeer." Don, for God's sake, they blew up surgical gloves. They would have looked like cow udders with all the tits.
Well, what about the toilet rolls? I thought that was a novel twist.
Okay, so that's
I
sport.
thought I'd bring that up under sport as well.
Do you know that the thing that now you can answer this, Rocket, because I got a feeling you're on the same wavelength, and I hope you are because this would prove your credentials. Don, what is the most captivating thing you want to see when a sporting contest is over between two combatants?
When they hug one another in a mutual sign of respect.
When they walk to the net and shake hands, or when they embrace
Yes.
after a boxing match?
Yes.
And sports editors, when the critical moment comes and you want to see a close-up of how they're going to greet one another or not, They go to the long shot of the stadium
Directors.
or the people, the support team shouting and waving, or dickheads
What are you
in the.
on about?
Why do sports editors get a job
Directors.
on the fact they have no idea how to televise sport?
Well, what example are you using?
I'm going to ask Rodney here, Rocket Rod, when he was running Fox Sports.
Well, something must have come up just.
Yes, I watched
What?
I watched a whole lot of boxing matches on Fox, and I watched. So that's what I watched, and I thought they'd slugged it out for 15 rounds, world title fights. And the bell went, and they walked to one another, and you wanted to see if they're going to
embrace.
And they went to the fucking long shot of the stadium. You couldn't even see them; they were like ants. Yeah. They showed their support stuff. Now, Rocket, when you ran Fox Sports, which you started and put on the map, did you ever give a directive? Did you ever give a directive to the sports editors, men or women alike, saying, could you capture the moment of embrace at the end of a sporting contest? Was that part of their job description?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what you're referring to, so I didn't see it. So I don't know.
Well, I'm telling you what I'm referring to.
That's a bit odd.
Two boxing matches.
To take a wide shot at that point when there's all that emotion is weird.
How about the tennis when Roger Federer, or the women, Roger Federer and Nadal have slugged it out for 5 hours and they walk towards the net.
You've got to be specific,
and they
John.
show the dickheads in the crowd, their support staff and the Aussie chanters, are fair dinkum.
Yeah,
you should be sacked on the spot if you're a sports editor.
We even stopped showing a lot of those crowd shots even during footy matches. You know, those
what crowd?
The constant cutaways of people in the crowd waving their scarves around and stuff. We got rid of a lot of that too.
Very good.
People, aren't sitting there. They don't go there to watch the crowd. They go there to watch what's going on inside the fence.
Okay, so Don,
I think you could do something about the commentators too. You can turn the volume down on football.
So Don,
the stats that are trotted out by you
can
guys.
Comment on this, Rocket, but you comment on this,
What?
Don. Argentina and Australia, I
watched, yep.
How many superimposed advertisements are on the ground? They're not actually there when you're there, but they superimpose them.
Exactly.
You can't. There's ads for fucking betting agencies, for grog.
Hey, listen.
The whole ground is covered in. And then they have Qantas sponsored it. They have Qantas planes flying around the fence. You know how they do it in digital.
Yeah, I know.
You can't concentrate on the bloody game.
On YouTube,
that's not the TV.
about-
Hang on, but that's not the TV problem now. That's now written into the sports broadcasting rights.
I'm right.
Yeah, so you need to talk to the sport about that, not the broadcast.
But advertising is getting in everywhere. It's on YouTube. I watch it YouTube every night. I watch old music and I watched...
old music.
What do? You sit around with your laptop on your lap in
do,
bed?
before I go to bed.
Well,
exactly.
What
I
music,
have certain
Don?
categories that come up because I'm interested, and away we go.
What are the categories you listen
Exactly.
I just said to you music.
So music categories.
Music.
What are those categories? What genre in music? Jazz?
No,
light
back in the
classical?
60s,
Well, you listen
60s,
to old film
70s,
clips and stuff?
some 80s. Beg your
60s
pardon?
Old
rock.
music clips and things.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
Norman Greenbaum,
Who?
Spirit in the Sky.
Norman.
There's not a video
Isn't it
to that.
Greenbaum?
Norman who? Greenbow.
Greenbaum.
What's his name?
You are.
Greenbaum.
Anyway, there's not a video to it. So anyway, but there are ads constantly. You get halfway through
But I
a
understand
clip,
that.
bang. Why?
But if you
Even
got the what do you call it?
Even
The
on
premium.
this podcast that we do, it's bloody infiltrated by ads. We had nothing going when we first started. As far
Not in
as
our,
that.
not on audio. It's not, is it?
It's stopped with bloody ads all the time. What is it? White women funerals.
What,
and
our podcast
Yes, on Podbean. Jeez, you got to
What?
get rid of the bloody ads before you can get into it.
Hang on. So when people play our podcast, there's ads that roll.
No,
There
there's not.
Johnny.
I listen back just to see how we get on with
Well,
one
I get
another,
onto
Don,
the face
unlike
page
you.
and you're flicking ads to try and get to
Just
the thing.
unlike you, Don, who have no interest in knowing how you come across, we do this to try and be a little... I listen to all our podcasts. There's no ads if you...
Well, you don't go to the face page.
I go to Spotify or iTunes or...
You don't go to Podbean.
I go to Podbean. I'll play a
Have a look.
I'm not have a look. I listen
but
to it.
Rod, there's ads. To answer your question, there's ads on
no
YouTube
fucking
and
ads
this.
at all
They
on
just
it.
stop. They stop.
If you
when
pay
you're-
$9 a month, it goes away.
there's some ad remover or something. They
$9.
give you that. They give you that ability to get rid of the ads, but you got to pay. I
Don,
think.
Yeah, that way you don't have to
Don.
pre-roll before you.
Yeah.
Every time,
I
yeah.
listen to
It
whatever.
stops in the middle. I think even on
Jesus,
films,
you're speaking
Netflix,
crap.
I think it stops as well, doesn't it?
No.
Doesn't it? It plays the film in its entirety.
So when I play this, Rod, I'm not speaking to you anymore. When I play this on and listen to it back, there's not one ad. It just says you hear the music, and then we speak for an hour, and then you play the music again and to finish with Daddy Cool. What are you talking about? There's no ads played on that.
I'm not. I didn't think there was. That's why I asked him.
At the start, there are ads. I'll bring it up
they're
later. I'll
visual,
show
though.
you.
You mean across the top and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, who cares?
What do you mean?
What are
Who
you
cares?
listening?
Well,
You're
listen
not
to it
watching-
on
I wanna
iTunes.
get to the
Go to
bloody-
iTunes and watch.
You're
Listen to it
listening.
there.
You're
What
not watching
iTunes?
Go to Apple Podcasts. You
I
don't get
wouldn't
any of
know
that.
how to get there.
You're listening. You're not watching it.
Wouldn't even know.
Just
But the
let's-
ads are everywhere
Just
now.
let's see if this comes. No, I'm just going to. This is one of the episodes. I'm downloading it. Here we go. Oh, fuck you.
Don't swear.
Sorry.
God, you're foul.
This is good.
What's good?
It's good radio. Listen to Sam get his
Oh,
phone
yeah.
out.
No, I'm
Get
just
it.
going to
Yeah,
show
have a
there's no
look.
ads.
We know. We've
Well,
agreed.
why are we
about
even
it.
going
all
there?
that.
The draft is on too, by the way. You
How's
boys.
Merv going?
But he's coming back from Sydney on the train. He finds it far more economical to travel by train. He's
Do you
a
remember?
train
Do you remember his advice to everybody that how to work the draft? That you got to pick the best player when it's your turn.
The best player is a Footscray Academy player.
Yeah, but
Yes, keep going,
I
Rob.
was going to say, but the Adelaide Crows came
Could-
out and
could-
said, "Hang on, it's the Australian Football League, so you've just got to take the best player wherever they came from." They must have listened to Merv.
Yes, but if Adelaide picked the Footscray draftee,
Then the Dogs have got to match it.
they've got to match it with points.
Yeah,
Now, I don't know where who gives them points and
surely
where do
Merv
the
explained that for us, didn't he?
Oh, don't start. But it's compromise. The draft is compromise. What we said last week, and I'll say it again, there should be just one draft, and everybody that's disgruntled, anybody who wants to trade or they're a free agent, and these young boys coming in the national draft today should all go into one draft, and then you can make your selection.
Yeah.
And the other thing about the national draft, these boys don't mature and of no value for at least 3 to 4 years. They are passengers for the first 2 years if they get a game.
Right.
So there's too much emphasis put on younger boys.
Don,
Yes, John.
would you like to go to Paris in 2024? Maybe we could. The three of us.
Why?
I'm about to tell you why, Don. Would maybe the three of us, the Rocket.
I'm not going.
Why not? Would you like to come travelling the Outback next year? We could do the podcast on the road.
Could I bring my dogs?
Yeah, you could, as long as you tie the bastards up and clean up their shit around
Anyhow,
the...
could I push on with why I asked you? Would you
No,
like
we're
to go
talking
to
about
Paris?
we're talking about going to the Outback.
Oh, so
On
not
the flatbed.
Paris.
We'll get the flatbed going.
Not Paris.
All right, keep
Why
going.
would we go to Paris?
Thank you. I said, would you like to come, the three of us, will we go to Paris to watch the Olympics next in 2024? Because there's some new sporting disciplines have been added to the Olympics.
I heard about that this morning.
Did you?
Breakdancing.
How good?
Can you... What do you mean good? Is that a sport?
I want to know, either when I read about it, whoever lobbied for it is either a genius or hopeless. Because if they started lobbying recently and they got it in, well, they're a genius, right? But if they started back in 1984 when it was relevant, they're hopeless.
That's the point. And do you know what they said why they're having breakdancing? They said it's more gender balanced. This is their rationale. More gender balanced, and it's youthful and urban. So they're catering to the youthful, urban, gender balanced audience. Breakdancing.
But aren't there enough young people in the various sports anyway?
It's a young person's sport, isn't it?
I mean, the
Olympics.
whole of the Olympic is a young person's sport.
Exactly,
You
Don.
cover it with swimming. They're all young people.
Athletes, you can't
Equestrian.
compete.
No, it does cover a number of
No, all the track and field are young people.
young people, but equestrian does cover
So then they've got
a wider age
Then
group.
they've got rock climbing. That's it.
Rock climbing.
Well, wall climbing, it's called.
Same thing.
rock climbing.
Oh, really?
No, so the point is, how many people
Is
engage?
Tennis, can I ask you a question? Is tennis still in it?
Yes,
Tennis is still in it.
and golf's in it.
Golf.
Well, wasn't it? Was last time.
Golf in it.
Surfing's in it.
But the bigger championships
Surfing.
are Wimbledon.
Of course, that's
Oh,
the
yeah, that's
point.
right. Why do
So
they need to
why
go
would
in?
you take it into the
Of
Olympics?
course, that's been the argument since it was. So they got surfing. Now, how can you have surfing because it's not a level playing field? Because you might go out there and catch a wave that is fantastically shaped, and your competitor might sit out there for an hour waiting for a similar wave to come. It is contrived, dinky crap. It's a great sport. And the World Surfing Championships are fantastic, and so is the golf, and so is the tennis, breakdancing, and the other one was
Soccer is in the same boat, but that's been in for a long time, soccer, as an Olympic sport, but it is certainly...
But at least it's for the juniors, you know what I mean? It has a...
Well, it's, under 23s or something, but really, please.
So
please.
should we
I
get
mean,
rid of? Should we?
I think they've got to just rationalise a few sports. I mean, the World Cup is the thing now.
Yeah, fair enough.
And
So should we get rid of the discus or the hammer throw?
no, because they're traditional. They're traditional. I'd go
That's
along
my
with it.
point.
What's your point?
Well, my point is, would you have breakdancing? When is that going to become a? How many? This is my question, Don. How many? You could say how many people engage in throwing the hammer or the discus. How many people in the world into the sport of breakdancing or rock climbing to warrant it to be a popular? Maybe there's plenty. I don't know. Would you think?
Basketball's another one that could be looked at as well.
There was in the 80s, I don't know about now.
Ben Simmons didn't want to play. Well, he mightn't have been allowed to play for Australia, whether he's changed or not, but you don't get the best basketballers because they're worth so much money to their clubs. They could do an injury in the.
Got any more sport, Don? Did you see the? Now, what publication did the top 100 sports influences in Australia?
Herald Sun or News Corp around the country, yeah.
100. The 100th most important person in sport.
Are they struggling? The Herald Sun. It's pretty thin at the moment.
No, I think it's going all right.
Is
Can I
it?
tell you how
Well,
petty?
why would you put something in like this?
But I tell you how petty it is, right?
How heavy?
Petty.
Petty. What are you talking?
They have
what
so
you
in the
mean
top
by
100 people around Australia, right? But top 100 most powerful people in sport, and they didn't have Craig Hutchison in it. Like he's got a sports network now that's in every state of the country. He's got a piece of the rights in every sport going around,
But
and
it's
they
so
left me out.
subjective.
They had the
It's rubbish.
CEO of Coits in it for crying out loud, but they didn't have him in it because they've got the shits with him. I mean, that's how petty and ridiculous these lists are.
Yeah, but that's what I said to you. Are they scratching?
No.
Why would you why don't you report something?
Why don't
Do
you be
something.
honest? Like Eddie Maguire, I don't care what you think of Eddie, was number 34 or 8.
Something like that. Yeah.
Number 34 or 8 when I won't mention who were ahead of him in our sport, AFL. Gillan McLaughlin quite rightly should have been at 4, or because he's running the number one sporting body in the world in Australia. You couldn't say Eddie's 38 behind a lot of the people that were ahead of him. Andrew
cares?
Bogart was number 100. He'd be
Who
nice and
cares?
happy. Who cares?
Yes.
Oh,
Who really does care?
No, all right.
Do you care?
No, but I'd like it to be accurate or a little bit more.
Well, I think it's a very, very
Fair.
subjective thing. Very what?
No, go on.
No, you flash me something then.
Just hang on. This
he
is
just
this
cannot
is-
move on, mate. Once
No,
you get
just
the
listen
thought
to
in
me.
his head.
What- Listen, this is a podcast.
This is Asperger's disease. You
This is a
realise?
podcast.
This is a symptom of Asperger's
Listen, you
disease.
stupid man. You said that this is it is saturated with ads. This is a podcast that goes to air if you.
We sorted this out.
Oh God, it's
Well, what
cruel.
is he
It's
saying?
shocking.
You can't listen
He's
to
saying
about
that
all
when
the
it's
ads.
the visually.
Move
when you go
on.
To the actual,
Well, who
when you go to the
visually
site.
watches it? You don't visually. You listen to it.
I get that.
There's
This is
no
hard.
ads
This
at all.
is hard work.
Both of you, honestly, you said when you access it on the social platforms that it's full of ads. It's not full of ads at all. That just goes straight to air, and you listen to it audibly. If you want to watch what comes on the screen, don't watch it, just listen to it.
Any advances on the relationship?
What, you married her?
No, not the married Fiona Byrne, you idiot. That's the one I'm more interested in.
Sport, Don, is it? Sport?
But it's a sport to you.
No, it's not. I think we're exhausted with sport unless you can come up with anything else, Don. Right. In fact, seeing as you can't come with anything else, just have a crack at anything you'd like to speak about, seeing as you reckon I dominate everything.
What was that COVID topic you had?
Incidentally, our guest should be here, so we're going to ring off. Donald, would you like to say thank you for?
Just before we go, do you think we're becoming a little more cocky with regard to, you brought it up, coronavirus, wearing of masks? Do you think we're becoming a bit cocky?